We're pleased to be speaking now with Jay Horine. He is the global head of energy, power, and renewables investment banking at JP Morgan. Of course, they've got their big energy conference going on Tuesday and Wednesday, Jay, and it's a real pleasure and important time to have you on. Thank you very much. I mean, listen, at the time of this interview that we're doing, there are reports that Chesapeake Energy could be ready to file for bankruptcy any day. Obviously, we had Extraction Oil and Gas file early on Monday morning. There have been a number of energy investment that have gone bust in terms of bankruptcies. Do you expect there will be more this year?
Well, Brian, thanks again for having me, and thanks for helping to kick off our conference. It's our 5th annual. We have over 150 companies attending, over 1,000 equity and fixed income investors, and it's the largest of its kind on the street. So thanks again for kicking this off. As far as companies, listen, it's a challenging time for a group of companies in the energy patch. There's no question about it. These companies are trying to transition to a new day of increased capital efficiency and lower operating costs in what is a challenging environment.
Do you think these companies would be able to tap the capital markets through debt or equity if they needed to now?
I think certainly a lot of them have shown the ability to do so. They've also done some self-measures. Some have cut their dividend, and others have gone about curtailing to an extent their capital expenditure plans. I think that the strongest companies have definitely shown their ability to tap the capital markets, and the banks have been able to work with them. And some of the ones who are struggling, it may not be able to continue to go forward.
Do you think that the energy space, the oil and gas space, primarily because we'll focus on renewables in a bit, do you think the energy space needs to get smaller?
No, I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, you have the better part of 1.5 billion people on Earth who don't have electricity. You have a growing population around the world, especially in places that are very hot. As you and I have talked about before, the need for air conditioning, the need for a modern life requires electricity and energy. So on the one hand, you have that. I think that especially our oil and gas companies are very focused on capital efficiency, very focused on what they can do to move forward their environmental stewardship. So we're working, and I know a lot of people are working with these companies towards a greener, more sustainable future, while at the same time providing reliable, affordable energy to everyone.
How about this? Do you think that there will be a U.S. oil and gas industry in 15 years? I mean, the way the equities have traded, Jay, when you look out, investors don't seem like they're giving it much of a long-term lifeline.
Well, you're exactly right. I think to a large extent, investors have severely discounted the longer-term prospects of a lot of these companies. However, even if you go through a variety of prognosticators around oil demand and oil usage, I still think it's going to be reasonably high. So I do believe that there will be a sector in 15 years. I think it's a sector that people shouldn't underestimate the ability of innovation and imagination around these companies and around the entire sector. I think they're in the midst of doing exactly that towards a more sustainable energy transition. My guess is that some of that will definitely involve oil and gas on a go-forward basis.
You know, companies have a very good way of making sure that they sustain themselves long term and they can evolve and they can shift. And I've joked with you and other people. I've said, why doesn't a big oil and gas company simply go out and buy a solar company or renewable companies? Do you think we could see some imaginative and creative deal making like that in the future?
Well, I think we're just at the cusp of that. I think it's a great question. I think that both our utility clients, our renewables clients, the oil and gas clients, they're all kind of coming together. Things like an electric vehicle. Is that a transportation? Is it a energy source? What exactly is an electric vehicle? So I think these things are all coming closer and closer together. You have things like LNG and other assets, if you will, that oil and gas companies own, utilities own, independent companies own. So I think it's all coming together, and to a large extent, it's around, as I said earlier, providing energy and electricity to an ever-increasing need for a modern life.
You know, one thing in this pandemic is we've talked a lot about ESG investing prior to it, and then what this pandemic and lockdown will do to it. Some people say, oh, it's going to hurt investment. Others say it's going to boom and it's going to speed up that change. What do you see happening on the environmental side of renewables? Is there financing? Is the business accelerating, or is it pulled back?
Well, I'm glad you asked. JP Morgan has committed $200 billion for financing that moves forward climate action in just 2020. A number of other banks are doing exactly that. I actually think that this is going to be an amazing time of, as I said before, innovation. There's going to be a lot of money spent on this. I think that there's going to be public policy around housing regulations and how much energy a home or a building can use. And I think that it's become part of the nomenclature, part of the conversation for everyone. Everyone thinks about energy now and fuel efficiency. I think that we will in their cars. So I think that the conversation has really started. I expect that there will be a lot of money and a lot of great minds put to work to provide energy in a reliable, affordable, sustainable manner around the world. And we're excited to be part of that.
So where do you see the opportunity then from an investment and investment banking perspective, Jay?
Well, we see it in a number of ways. One is helping to finance people with their green initiatives. That can be solar, that can be wind, that can be battery storage and other kinds of innovation. Again, I think that we're really in the opening innings of this. It's things like LNG, which helps people transition from coal to a gas future. So we see across the spectrum opportunities to finance and advise clients as they put capital to work, as I said, again, around the globe.
Leave us with this. Give us maybe the JP Morgan or the Jay Horine surprise. What could be some of the surprise deals or deal-making trends in the energy, power, and renewable space over the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, maybe I'd put it in two buckets. I think that you will see unusual merger partners potentially as people think outside the box about, as I said, the ability to deliver the energy. So you may see sort of these people come cross paths as we talk about the energy world, the power and the renewables world. That's why we run it all together. And then secondly, I really think you're going to see innovation. There's money being put even in things like nuclear fusion and the like. I wouldn't discount the ability of these companies, our government, the universities and the like to come together with innovations and efficiencies that we really haven't even thought about.
Jay Horine, Global Head of Energy, Power, Renewables, Investment Banking at JP Morgan Chase. Thanks for joining us on CNBC. Good luck with the conference. Hopefully next year we'll all do it again in person. Jay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian. I really appreciate it.